guys, my name is Chantel and I don't normally introduce myself at the beginning of my videos because I kind of feel like we're just old friends and you've come over and we're just chatting books. But yeah, so I thought I would just spice things up a little bit today. Say I'm Chantel, and when I'm not reading a ton, I am writing over on my blog and intentionallife.me. Yeah, so it seems like it would be wrong if I don't mention like the coronavirus like for a brief second. Where I live in the Canadian prairies, things have kind of like slowly started to happen here. Probably like just this last weekend, things kind of started going a little crazy, I guess. Things are shutting down because I kind of work from home, homeschool my kids, and am an introvert at heart. There's not really a whole lot of ways it has affected me. Like our church is shut down because we rent a building from a school. So we watched our sermon online yesterday, but other than that, life is pretty much normal. Other than I'm like a little worried about the toilet paper situation because all the crazy people are buying it all. And because I have a ton of books, I'm not worried about, you know, not having enough to read. So yeah, let's talk about the books that I read on the weekend. So first of all, I finished Eragon. I did finish this a day late. I was buddy reading it with Holly. I was supposed to finish it on Thursday. I finished it late Friday night. Overall, like I think I'm gonna give this one like a 3-star. It was okay. It wasn't as good as I expected. Eragon was kind of a little bit bland as a character for me. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not into traveling stories, but I still want to continue with the series. I think Holly has bailed and will not be continuing the series with Buddy Reads with me, but I will continue. I'm just not sure if I'm going to do like one a month or how I'm going to go about that. But hopefully by the end of this year, I will have finished the series. So yeah, I read that, and then I quickly picked up The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. I got this one after Murphy mentioned it in one of her videos, and then I had seen it in a bookstore and read a little bit about it. It's kind of just like little nuggets of wisdom, and it's set up in a way that you would think it was for kids, but I don't think it's meant for kids. It's meant for adults, which is a good thing too, because I found the font / text or whatever really hard to read, so if it was for kids it would be like impossible. But my favorite page, my favorite little nugget of truth was this one. It says, "Is your glass half empty or half full?" asked the mole. "I think I'm grateful to have a glass," said the boy. And I just like that, thinking outside the box and, you know, just being grateful for what you have. So that one was cute. And then I did start New Kid. I think this one won some kind of like graphic novel of the year award last year. And I only got about not even 30 pages in. I didn't even get to page 30, and I DNF'd it. I know some people on BookTube have mentioned it and really liked it, but it started out with like a really, just maybe this is typical. Maybe this is a typical middle grade school setting, but I have been reading too many books and watching too many shows with my kids that are set in middle school and high school and just have like really mean characters. And they just, my sweet little homeschool kids, they're like, kids are mean in school. And I do think sometimes these are maybe not 100% accurate representations. Like sometimes it's a little extreme in books and movies, but at the same time, sometimes it's completely accurate. And well, I don't want to like hide that from them. I'm just like, I'm so over reading about those kind of situations. So I didn't read this one past like maybe like page 25 or something like that. And then I'm still continuing on with Emily of New Moon. This was the book I chose for my Read Your Bookshelf challenge. It is the book with a nature word in the title. And I'm close to halfway done. I've kind of been putting this one off to the side because I was reading Eragon, and then I also started Magic, which I'll talk about right away, because I have so many fantasy books that were on my TBR for this month. So I've been kind of trying to cruise through the fantasy books as fast as possible, and this one's kind of taking a bit of a backseat, but it is my plan to finish this one this week. And then, yes, I also started Magic. This one someone recommended to me on my homeschool Instagram account as a good fantasy book. And so far, I'm feeling like it's good, but there's a few things that I wish weren't in here from middle grade. Like, maybe it's not even for middle grade, just personally. Like, the good guys are kind of also experimenting with some dark magic and stuff. I like it when things are a little bit more clear-cut, especially in middle grade books, when like the good guys are good and the bad guys are bad, and there just seems to be a little bit of a gray area here where I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but I am only like 170 pages into like 560 some, I think, 550-ish. So we'll see how things actually go. So far, the story is very interesting, though. It is about a boy. Well, no, it's kind of, it follows this family. The dad is the 7th son of a family, and then the night they had their 7th son, then he was declared dead and whisked away, and the dad stumbled across this girl in the woods, this baby in the woods, and so they raised her. And yeah, it turns out she is someone important, I guess. And I'm assuming something will eventually happen, that they will find their son that they thought was dead, but haven't heard anything about that yet. So it's like an interesting plot line, and we will see where that goes. And then there's like one more stack of books I want to talk about. I have a bunch of books that I got out from the library that I saw were available on BookOutlet. So what I decided to do was read a chapter of each of these books and decide if they were worth buying or not, because I do have some credits on BookOutlet for when people have used my referral link, and they got $10 of free books, and then I got $10 of free books. So I wanted to place an order, and I wanted to go through and see if any of these were any good. So I just wanted to like briefly talk about it. I tried to read like the first chapter of the books, but some of those chapters were really short. So I read like 10 to 20 pages of each book. So this one I had out because of Middle Grade March. This was the read along for the month. I didn't like necessarily intend to get to it this month, but I wanted to have it as an option. And I read the first chapter or so, and it just kind of like fell flat for me. If I was forced to read it, I'm sure maybe it would probably be fine. It's about a boy in, I want to say like the Victorian era, who's a hunchback, and I don't know where it goes. He doesn't have a name. His name is Boy. But yeah, it just wasn't like not worth having on my shelves. And because I have so many other middle grade books I want to read, I'm just gonna like pass on that one. Another one I read the beginning of was Ban This Book. The idea is this girl is in a school where books start getting banned, and has on the back, she creates a locker library where she stores these banned books. And right at the beginning, her favorite book from the library, which is from the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler, gets banned. And yeah, so far this book was really good. It's funny, and it includes a lot of books that I enjoyed growing up, or at least some of them. And I love that she is a child of color, because my son is African, and I want to have more books with people of just different races in our house. So I did order this one from BookOutlet. Then Wish is about a girl whose father goes to jail, and she starts school in a new school because she went to live with, I can't remember if it's like relatives or if like foster home or something. And because we are foster parents, I thought that was kind of fitting. And the first chapter or two that I read of it, the first 10 to 20 pages sounded really good, so I ordered this one. And then the Illuminae files, which I shared in my little library haul from last week's vlog, I read the first, like, I think, yeah, right here, 18 pages. So this is like a mixed media format book where there's like interviews and emails and all sorts of things like that. It is a YA science fiction book where so far I think our two main characters are going to be this girl and this guy who are in high school, or I'm not sure how old they are. They broke up in the morning, and then in the afternoon their planet got invaded, and I don't know where it goes from there. But one thing I appreciate, So it is young adult, and it does kind of like have swearing in it, but all the swearing is blacked out throughout the book. So as someone who doesn't like to read any swearing, I appreciate that. And it definitely gave me Skyward vibes from when I read the first bit. So I found this one. I found a paperback copy of this one, which is a little unfortunate because from what I can see, the underneath the dust jacket here, it looks really cool. I appreciate those kind of attention to detail. So I ordered that one. And then the last one that I read was Wish Tree. I read like the first 3 chapters because they were so short. And this is one I've heard a lot of good things about, but when I was reading it, I felt like it was a middle grade book that adults would like, but not a middle grade book that kids would like. And I could be wrong, and maybe it gets better. But I ended up not ordering this one. So yeah, I ordered 3 books, and then also some other ones that I didn't have from the library. But that was kind of like a fun activity to figure out if I was actually going to enjoy the books. So I'm definitely gonna do that again. And yeah, so that's the beginning of my week. I'm going to read this one and this one. I think I just want to finish these before starting anything else. Oh, and I am also listening to an audiobook. I'm listening to The Land of Stories, which I'm almost done. I should probably finish like in the next day or 2. So I'll check back in a couple days. Okay, so a little bit of a reading update for this week. I did finish Land of Stories, and overall, I think it ended up being better than, there was like a few parts that I kind of wish weren't in here, but it did overall end up being a pretty good story, and I do think my kids would enjoy it. I think maybe what we'll do is we'll listen to it on audio together, so that if they mention something about the few little things that bothered me, then we can discuss it. But overall, I do feel like the story was good enough that those parts don't matter quite so much. And then I am trying to finish Emily of New Moon. It's kind of gotten a little bit monotonous, and it just feels like it's taking me a long time to get through it at this point. I have probably like 150 pages left, but I have found that I need more time for classic books. You know, even though I think this one is technically a middle grade book, because it is written so long ago, the vocabulary is a lot different than most middle grade books that are written these days. And I find that this one, I need dedicated reading time. I can't just be like, oh, I have 2 minutes, I'm going to read a couple pages, which is generally how I operate when I read. This one I need some dedicated reading time. So I'm hoping that this evening and then tomorrow I can have some of that and then finish this book up, because while I am enjoying it, I'm kind of also just ready for it to be done. So yeah, my plan is just to finish this one, and then after that, hopefully I can pick up magic again. But yeah, so I mean, I'm reading less books this week than I normally do, but some weeks are just like that. And this week has also been crazy. I didn't realize, you know, with the coronavirus going on and everything, that my homeschool sites that I have just been like getting a lot of traffic now that everyone in North America pretty much is finding themselves suddenly homeschooling, whether they already were before or now they are forced to because of the virus. So I've been doing a lot of work this week instead of reading. But yeah, hopefully I'll have some time in the next 2 days to finish this book up. We are officially at the end of the week, and wow, what a week it has been. I am not the kind of person that normally follows the news. I find I get like sucked into it if I start paying attention, so I kind of just let my husband tell me, you know, like if major events are going on. But this week has been an exception. A week ago, my husband was at work doing things normal, everything was open, and within the span of a week, everything's been shut down. All the schools, universities, you know, like lots of businesses, and we are like stuck at home. And I keep thinking, like, is this real life? Where I live in the middle of nowhere in the Canadian prairies, like, we kind of hear about this stuff happening in the world, but it never comes here. So even though, you know, we've had like no social life this week, I surprisingly still haven't read a ton. You'd think I would have like all this extra time, but I kind of feel like my brain has kind of just been, you know, thinking about everything, and I feel like I'm constantly checking my email just to see what other places sending me their information about their virus and telling me to wash my hands and stuff. But yeah, like my mind has just been kind of occupied this week. I did do a little bit of reading though. I finished Emily of New Moon, and it got better, or I just was reading it in the way that it was meant to be read. I read the last like 250 pages or so in 2 sittings. And I feel like classics just need more of my brain. I can't read them in 5-minute increments. So that really helped, and I really enjoyed the ending of this book. And I don't own books 2 and 3, but I'm going to keep my eye out for them in this beautiful edition, and then hopefully get to them eventually. I did, you know, annotate and tab a number of spots in the book, and to me that's kind of like usually a sign of a good book. And then I started this at the beginning of the week, Magic, and read a decent amount last night after finishing Emily of New Moon. And this is kind of my planned read for tonight and tomorrow, and then hopefully I'll be done this tomorrow because I still have 2 books left on my TBR for March. One is like an official book, and the other one, I'm reading this one for the one-word title, and I had actually picked 2 books for that. So the other one is kind of like a bonus book. But I would like to get both of them read before the end of March, but they are both middle grade or young adult fantasy books, so I can't read them at the same time. So yeah, this will be kind of like the beginning of my weekend, and even though it was like a crazy week, it was an okay reading week. Like, I enjoyed most of what I read. It's just kind of like been kind of distracted reading this week. Usually reading helps me, you know, get away from the world, and I feel like this week I couldn't turn my brain off, which I think makes sense. I think there's a lot of people in the same boat. But hopefully next week this will kind of just be like the new norm, and I don't need to constantly be consumed like thinking about it. Yeah, so once again, I would love to hear what you've been reading. If you have enough books for your isolation at home. I have, you know, tons of unread books on my bookshelves, plus some library books, which I hear we're not even supposed to return. We're just supposed to keep them, and there will be no fines until the library is open again. So, you know, I'm pretty stocked up. As soon as I kind of get out of this like funk, I think I'll be going through books pretty quickly and getting quite a few checked off my list. So yeah, let me know what you've been reading, and I'll see you guys next week.